The title of my talk today is Good Things Grow from Horse Manure. My name is Sam Mitsui, and I'm a Nisei, second generation Japanese American, and my parents were called Issei, first generation of immigrants from Japan. My father immigrated to the United States from Nagano-ken, Japan in 1905 and worked for the Great Northern Railroad for 50 years. I'm here today to tell you about being placed in an American concentration camp after Pearl Harbor and to tell you the incredible story of the Nisei that served in the segregated 100th Battalion, 442nd Regimental Combat Team, and the Secret Military Intelligence Service during World War II, and to honor my best friend, PSC Tom Hachi of the 442nd. I was in basic training as a replacement for the 442nd when a letter that I wrote to Tom was returned with the words, "Killed in action, Mount Belvedere, Italy, by sniper fire on April 9, 1945. After receiving this sad news, I made a pledge that I would never forget the sacrifice that Tom and the men of the 442nd made for us and would do all that I could to continue their legacy of courage, sacrifice, and loyalty. Reason I'm here today is to fulfill that pledge. I would also like to honor all veterans that have served our country in time of war. Also, our thoughts and prayers are with over 6,000 families that have lost loved ones in the present war on terrorism. I'm sure that many of you have had the same experience of losing someone close to you in the service of our country. I was born 88 years ago in the little town of Skykomish, Washington, where Tom and I grew up and attended school together. Tom was like an older brother to me. I remember pledging allegiance to the flag every morning and always thought that I was an American. That is, until December 7, 1941, when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. FBI came, took our shortwave radio and my dad's old pistol. A curfew was placed on us so we could not leave our home from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. People whom we thought were our friends would not speak to us. Our neighbor asked me if I was going back to Japan. Not one teacher nor our principal supported us. We were convicted by their silence. There's one notable exception, my basketball coach, Royal Pop Gun. He stood in front of the whole student body during an assembly, and he told them that I was an American, just like everyone else. Then he said, anyone that wants to harm Sam will have to go through me and his basketball teammates. I will never forget that one example of support and loyalty. Stores had signs that proclaimed in bold letters, "No Japs allowed." Newspapers were filled with articles of hate and racism like, "Put the Japs in detention camps." Cartoons portrayed us as slant-eyed, buck-toothed, yellow Japs. One day, I was walking down Main Street when two soldiers grabbed me by the collar and said, "Okay, Jap, show me the yellow stripe running down your back." General John DeWitt, commander of the Western Defense Command during World War II, said, "A Jap is a Jap. Citizen or not, They will never change and cannot be trusted. This was very disturbing to me. This was the only country that I knew and cared about. So why was everyone treating us like the enemy? When we were kids, we used to say, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me." Because of incidents like these, I've changed my attitude about name calling. Words do harm you, and being called a jack is like calling a black person a nigger. Words do harm you, and they have left scars that will remain with me for the rest of my life. Because of war hysteria, extreme racism and attacks on us, very few people stood up for us. Finally, on February 19, 1942, even our president, Franklin D. Roosevelt, was against us by signing Executive Order 9066, which ordered the military to evacuate 120,000 Nisei and Nisei from the Western Defense Command. This was done without due process, and even though no one was ever convicted of espionage, subversive activity, or treason. We were only allowed one suitcase per person. Then the state patrol came to take us to Everett to board a train to the Tule Lake concentration camp in Northern California. As we left Skykomish, the Germans and Italians that worked with my father on the Great Northern Railroad were waving goodbye to us. What I never really understood was, why was I, an American citizen, waving goodbye to German and Italian enemy aliens? Now I know that it was because they were white and we looked like the enemy. Who would think of putting General Eisenhower into a concentration camp because he was of German ancestry, or Mayor LaGuardia of New York City because he was of Italian ancestry? The 120,000 Nisei and Nisei were placed in 10 concentration camps located in the most desolate, hot and cold areas of our country. Some people have questioned our use of the word concentration camps in describing our situation, so I went to Webster's dictionary, and it said, a concentration camp is where persons as prisoners of war, political prisoners, or refugees are detained or confined, which describe our situation. In comparison, the Jewish Holocaust camps were not only concentration camps, but in addition were death camps, which ours was not. Our family of 6, along with 10,000 evacuees, were sent to the Tule Lake concentration camp in Northern California and housed in one room of a barrack built with shiplap siding, layered tar paper, no insulation, a lot of cracks, no running water or a bathroom. Not much protection from the cold in the winter and the heat and dust in the summer. If we had to go to the bathroom, shower, or do laundry, we would have to bundle up and walk through dirt and mud to a central bathroom. Some families slept in racetrack horse stalls while the main camps were being built. That the Nisei and Nisei would persevere and overcome such indignity was well exemplified in a story about a son and father at the racetrack. Young boy told his father that these stalls had not been cleaned and it stunk of horse manure. Father replied, "Remember, son, a lot of good things grow from horse manure. Many years later, we'll see how true this statement was. After Pearl Harbor, we were classified 4C, enemy aliens, by the Selective Service, even though we were American citizens, not being able to vote or serve our country in time of war. In spite of the injustices committed, the primary thought in our mind was to prove our loyalty by serving in the United States military. Even though we were still imprisoned in these concentration camps, surrounded by barbed wire and guard towers with the machine guns pointed inward. If anyone tried to escape, they were ordered to shoot. In this darkest period after Pearl Harbor, the U.S. War Department finally agreed to form the segregated Nisei 100th Battalion in 1942 and the all-Nisei 442nd Regimental Combat Team in 1943. 4,500 Nisei from Hawaii and the mainland concentration camps volunteered to prove their loyalty. In order to test their loyalty, they fought the Germans from North Africa to Italy, France, and Germany. They emerged from the ashes of prejudice, suspicion, and fear to an almost unparalleled position of honor and bravery. They accomplished this in spite of the fact that some of their families were still imprisoned in these concentration camps. An incredible total of 30,000 Nisei served in various military units during World War II in order to prove their loyalty. The 100th Battalion, 442nd, received 18,143 individual decorations, including 21 Congressional Medals of Honor, 8 Presidential Unit Citations, over 9,000 Purple Hearts, and many other decorations. They became the most decorated unit for its size and length of service in the history of the U.S. military. 442nd suffered 314% combat casualties. The 4,500 original members had to be replaced more than 3 times. I concentrated on the European theater, but please note that there's more to the Nisei story. 6,000 Niseis served in the secret military intelligence service in the Pacific Theater during World War II. They participated in every major invasion landing of the Pacific Islands, such as Guadalcanal, Saipan, Iwo Jima, Guam, Kwajalein, Philippines, Okinawa, and also in the China, Burma, India theater. They always faced the additional risk of being shot by friendly fire because they looked like the enemy. This is a story about Master Sergeant Roy Matsumoto of Friday Harbor, Washington. One of our group of Niseis in the secret MIS that served with Brigadier General Frank Merrills celebrated Marauder Rangers in Burma in early 1944. Recently, Roy, at the age of 100, passed away. He always volunteered to infiltrate enemy lines under cover of darkness to obtain information. He always carried 2 hand grenades because if he was captured, he knew that he would be tortured and executed because they would consider him as a traitor. So, one grenade was for the enemy and one was for himself. Because of his many heroic acts, Sergeant Matsumoto was inducted into the Ranger Hall of Fame after World War II at Fort Benning, Georgia. He was also inducted into the Military Intelligence Service Hall of Fame. The Nisei that served in the Secret Military Intelligence Service in the Pacific and CDI theaters are credited with shortening the Pacific War by 2 years and saving thousands of American lives by breaking enemy codes, translating Japanese documents, interrogating prisoners, and infiltrating enemy lines to obtain information. With the passage of time, Americans began to acknowledge the actions that support the idea that good things grow from horse manure. Listen to these examples. August 10, 1988, President Ronald Reagan signed the Civil Liberties Act, H.R. 442, which provided redress and a letter of apology from the U.S. government for the injustice of putting 120,000 Nisei into these concentration camps. It takes a great nation to admit that they were wrong. I don't know of any other country in the world that would have done this. Senator Inouye, a Medal of Honor recipient and veteran of the 442nd, has said that the heroism of the 442nd and the MAS played a major role in signing the Civil Liberties Act. On June 21, 2000, President Clinton belatedly presented 20 Congressional Medals of Honor to members of the 442nd during World War II because a military review board determined that due to racism in the military during World War II, they were not awarded the Medal of Honor even though they deserved it. President Clinton said, as sons set off to war, so many mothers and fathers told them, live if you can, die if you must, but fight always with honor and never ever bring shame on your family or your country. Never has a nation been so well served by a people it's so ill treated. They risked their lives above and beyond the call of duty, and in doing so, they did more than defend America. In the face of painful prejudice, they helped to define America at its best. November 9, 2000, a National Japanese American Monument to Patriotism was dedicated in Washington, D.C. in honor of the 800 Niseis that were killed in action and to 30,000 Niseis that served in the military during World War II and 220,000 Issei Nisei, in spite of the injustices committed, maintained their loyalty to the United States. With this monument dedication, we have been able to carve a small niche in the history of our great nation. September 3, 2011, a NVC Foundation memorial was dedicated in Seattle in honor of Nisei veterans and Japanese American families that were placed in American concentration camps after Pearl Harbor. On March 26, 2001, the U.S. Federal Courthouse in Seattle was named in honor of Medal of Honor recipient P.S.C. William Nakamura from Seattle. And on February 21, 2002, the new Medical Dental Center at Fort Lewis was named in honor of Medal of Honor recipient T5 James Okubo from Bellingham, Washington. They are both members of the 442nd. On September 2002, my wife and I were able to take a tour of Italy on our 50th anniversary. We were finally able to walk on a battlefield in the area of Mount Belvedere, where PFC Tom Hodju was killed, and to pay our respects and say a silent prayer of thanks for allowing us to enjoy our lives and families today because of the sacrifices of Tom and the men of the 442nd and the MIS. Walking on this hallowed ground has given me a renewed dedication to continue the legacy of these men that fought and died here so that future generations will know what sacrifices they made for us so that we could hold our heads up high as Americans. December 7, 2003, the above events were brought to a fitting closure when the Pearl Harbor Survivors Association of Seattle invited our Mitsui Veterans Committee to attend their memorial service to honor the dead and living survivors of the Pearl Harbor attack. I was hesitant to attend, not knowing what the reception would be, but to my amazement, we were greeted with open arms, and they honored us as special guests during the service with applause. After the service, one of the survivors approached me and asked if I was Sam Mitsui from Sky Combs. I said, yes, I am. He said that he was Bill Lou from Sky Combs. What a small world. We used to play basketball for the Sky Combs Skyrockets before the war. I thought, wow, if the Pearl Harbor survivors were for us, who could be against us? We had finally come full circle from being classified as an enemy alien after December 7, 1941, to a position of being honored by the Pearl Harbor survivors on December 7, 2003. It was truly a dream come true. On July 2010, two events occurred that I would never have dreamed possible after being classified as an enemy alien, even though we're American citizens and placed in a two-day concentration camp after Pearl Harbor. The first event was the appointment of my son Mark to be the president of North Seattle Community College, August 12, 2013. The second event was when Mark was selected to serve as Deputy Assistant Secretary for United States Community Colleges in the U.S. Department of Education under President Obama. On February 14, 2012, the climax of our journey was when a Congressional Gold Medal was awarded to the living veterans of the 442nd and MIS at the University of Washington for their heroic acts and sacrifices during World War II. Also, our thoughts and prayers were with our fallen comrades who are not able to be with us on this day. What happened to us is now history, and justice has been served. Best thing that we can do is to go forward and learn from history and act on the lessons learned. I ask each one of you to never disrespect a person because of the color of their skin, or what religion they believe in, or what race they belong to, or what their sexual orientation is, because if we do, we disrespect God and our country and what they stand for. We're all human beings who want to love and be loved, and who have the same concerns, fears, and hopes as everyone else. We must remain united so that what happened to us will not happen to any other group, especially to the Muslim Americans after September 11. After 62 years, I can finally say that I am proud to be an American. And now I know how Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. felt when he said, "I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed as follows, that all men are created equal, and we will be able to join hands and say, free at last, thank God Almighty, we're free at last." And as we pledge allegiance to the flag, may we remember that we are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Father that told his son that good things grow from horse manure was right on. Mahalo, arrivederci.